Okay, folks, good morning. We're going to pick up where we left off yesterday, and unfortunately have a hurdle I can't deal with right now. And that is, I've got all these pieces that I'm going to need to use a T-pin to put them in. I don't know where the hell my pins are. I put my room away too easily for house showing, so I'm probably going to have to go out today and spend $1.50 or something like that on a box of them. They're really, really cheap, but I don't know where the hell they are, and I'm not tearing everything out of the garage, out of the closet to do it. So I'm not going to be able to finish the suspension on this completely because of that, which is unfortunate, but shit happens. So anyhow, so we're going to leave this suspension alone. Plus, I got kids sleeping in the house, so should be the last time that happens for a while. So, which I don't mind, except that I want to be quiet. The show must go on. All right, so let's take a look at. I've got our pencil here. Let's make sure that all this is complete on the suspension that I can do, except for let's give this thing a double. There we go. It's facing the right way, not in upside down Russian. All this is done. I'm not going to put the spare track piece here on it until the very end. It's just something you end up handling and then end up breaking it, and flipping it back and forth. That's pretty much complete. Okay, we have the shirts in to put on there. And the two double covers. Okay, well the shirts are the only way that they're going to be. And they're going to take a little bit of time to set. So let's go ahead and do that. I hate not being able to finish stuff, but I really don't have an option. I don't want to do something that's going to cause me a couple hours to pick things up. So we've got a showing at 11 or something like that, so. And I woke up late on purpose because I was up way too late yesterday. So I still got my 6 hours of beauty sleep. Alright, let's clean these pieces up. And I actually am a fan of taking these plates off and removing some of them so it's missing a couple of gaps. I don't think I'm going to do it on this one. I got a couple Panzer IVs I think I did that on. But not this one. The suspension on this thing is better left hidden. It's nothing to be proud of, so. I said, this kit isn't perfect, It cost about $8. And I used my credit on it. That's the main thing. I used my credit on it. Because I'm going to buy a kit. I don't mind so much spending the money, but here it didn't cost me anything. It's basically free. Okay, so this one first. Mr. Barnes, still up. Wow. Awesome. Some nice detail actually on the back of this piece. Set this one off to the side. This is the other side. And of course you have to refer to this because of these archaic Italian instructions. We need 50, 248s, and a 49. Okay? So, this is where the shirtson was like this. Here. Oh, look, and one's broken already. And it's a 50. They're both 50, but they're totally different. Well, that might be an opportunity to remove the front one. Let's see how it falls into place. I don't really want to fix this. But it doesn't cost me anything to do so, Okay, 50, 49, and 248s. So 2 little guys. I'm just gonna come back here. All right. We'll look for it later. And I haven't had enough coffee for that challenge. I felt it down by my foot. I haven't had enough coffee to bend over yet. Well, worst case scenario is we won't put any shirts on it. Problem solved. I'm not buying an aftermarket thing that costs 3 times what the kit does. Mr. Glenn, welcome. 4 hours sleep. Back again, Glenn. Good morning. All right, let's repair this thing first. Let's attempt to repair it. Like I said, my fallback plan is no shirtson, which honestly isn't horrible. Not that big of a deal. I just thought it'd be cool to make this look like an armored bunker. All right, let's trim this piece there. And then this is 2 separate pieces. What a pain in the ass this is. I'm going to attempt to leave it connected on this side because at least the spacing is correct between them. It's negative thinking it's not going to work. No, it's not. It's making alternative plans. The worst day building models is still better than the best day at work. I can pretty much deal with anything here. This is a job for more than 4 ounces of coffee, though. All right, we'll let that percolate over here. All right, what we got here? Actually, I'm gonna go. No, it's not right here. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna tell Mitch people want on the show to see him make some models and see where his pieces end up at. But this particular plastic is very, very brittle. Very, very much so. Painting a pigsty in my new hobby desk. Pigsty, bloody craft paint, and paint and brushes everywhere. Pigsty, bring on the mud. You're not building that pigsty from foreground, are you? The only reason I'm saying that is because I built one of those recently. Look at this. I didn't even get a chance to break it. It broke off. All right. What do we have that's salvageable right now? Okay, these two little ones go in the middle, which is strange because those are actually the ones that have a little prong. And yet the outsides are the ones that have a hole for the prong, and these have slots. So if you put these in the middle, like they say here, they have a little prong on the end that should go there, not here. All right, I'm not putting shirts on this thing. It's obviously a pain in the ass. Between the brittle plastic. Right? Yeah, this is that piece. They want the little pieces towards the inside. The little pieces all have prongs that fit towards the inside. The bigger pieces don't, but yet there's holes for it. Keeping the dice company, no doubt. I think it's a Battle Zone model. Resin. Okay. Yeah, mine's a foreground MDF. I think I have to go light on the paint because it's all put together with Elmer's. Or what do you guys call that? BYO? CYA? What is it? PVA. PVA glue. We always call it Elmer's. There's other alternatives, but they're all like generic alternatives. All right, we need a baggie, but I don't want to go out there and disturb the girls, so I'm gonna put this stuff back in the baggie. We may revisit this, but it's not likely. I don't really like the look of Schertzen to begin with, but sometimes you make decisions, sometimes decisions are made for you. Okay, moving along. You want you to put a piece of spare track up here. I'm not convinced I want to do that just yet. It's one of those things that could have an individual look. Here's the cannon that we're going to epoxy. I'm not pulling the epoxy out just for that, especially when I have this suspension that I need to deal with, which I'm going to go ahead and put that in the bag as well. It's a shame I couldn't find those T-pins, but they'll come up soon. We'll do that tomorrow morning. Lovely. We have a leak in it. Anything else can go wrong? I'm definitely not stepping outside today. A crack in a plastic cup. Well, at least it's in a controlled environment. All right, we got all kinds of pieces that go on the rear deck here. Let's see if we can break these things too. We got spare wheels. Let's go ahead and put them together. For these parts that are pretty robust, it's not worth getting the nippers out. I won't be buying any of these re-released by Italeri. Although my biggest gripes with these models aren't really what probably most people's biggest gripes are going to be. Most people's gripes are going to be like they don't have enough detail, or they're inaccurate, and mine would be like the instructions suck. The plastic is brittle as crap, which the re-release could actually fix that. And they're just, the instructions are inaccurate. All right, so these go together. I know several people that they kind of do the scale, but they prefer 1/76. And I just don't. You could say whatever you want about 1/76, but it doesn't make sense that aircraft would be in 1/72 and tanks would be in 1/76. One or the other shouldn't exist. Now, I personally prefer 1/72 because figures tend to be oversized, so they look better with 1/72 scale vehicles. But I'd be fine with either one of them. I just don't understand why both of them are around. You know, this should be 1/76 scale aircraft also. I know that the 1/76 scale tanks has to do with some railroad scale that you only have in England, but Okay, so these guys are going to fit inside these cradles, which are 37. That's the part I'm concerned about it breaking. So let's see if we can avoid that happening. Man, there's all kinds of extra parts that came with these. Extra road wheels and shit. All right, one down. Yeah, I mean, this idler wheel is even cracked. And it's not necessarily something that's very brittle. Very delicate. It is brittle, otherwise it wouldn't have cracked. Okay, and these spare wheel thingies go on the back here. They're gonna go like this. And the spare wheel is gonna go between them. You know, I'm gonna glue them on, and then after they're glued, I will come in with a brand new X-Acto knife and scrape some of the stuff off. More discrepancy in 15 millimeter. Hope 15 millimeter World War II not as bad. I'd say 15 millimeter World War II is worse than Ancients and Medievals that I saw. I've seen Panzer IIIs that just a lot of soft detail on them. You know, I don't mind my stuff looking a little cartoonish, a little, but you know, you gotta have hard edges where there's hard edges. Let's a lot of people don't care. I would think that 28 millimeter would be even worse, but I am definitely skewed. Oh, they go like that. I'm going to go ahead and glue them in place on there. I'm definitely skewed by the 28 millimeter stuff that's available back then. Yeah, a lot of soft detail on it. The first 15 millimeter World War II I ever saw was the Old Glory figures that were put together in these big packs of like 4 and 5 vehicles, which was unheard of at the time for anything other than like micro armor. For Command Decision, they were done in combination with Command Decision in the early 90s. And the first thing I noticed is you'd get like, you know, a bunch of Panzer IIIs or something like that. And the turrets would all just be like, they'd be pitted. And they were like, it seemed like they were new molds, or maybe they weren't. It may have been one of those, Old Glory did the figures and Skytrex did the tanks. And they were all pitted and inaccurate. And it wasn't that they were inaccurate, they were inconsistent from one tank to another. You know, these tanks are built in factories, so they kind of have to look like each other. You know, it's kind of like preconditioned, at least in my book. They all need to be look like, you know, they can either all look rough or they can all look like clean, but they weren't horrible. It just didn't make me want to play the game. Okay, that should work fine. And then where's the other one? Although I just noticed something. I just noticed something with my supervision. Nope, they're the same. My mistake. I thought the road wheels were different pattern. I'm not a road wheel pattern Nazi. Yeah, I can tell the difference, but if something like the Hasegawa kits comes with the wrong ones, I just deal with it. Like I said, I'm dealing with this thing because I was able to use my credit. So technically these were free. Just the way I look at it is. I traded in something I wasn't ever going to use for something that I'm using now. I mean, even if I never play with these things, I'm having fun with them. Yeah, be free. Piece of flesh. Sky Trek still carry that command decision rage. I'm not impressed by it. You know, that's one thing that makes GHQ miniatures so good when they came out. And I swear, when I was a kid, I just thought there was like a big tank that they made out of wood or something. And they had some ingenious device that it would follow along and would make a small mold. Not somebody went and carved one in 1-to-1 scale, and that's what they used as the master. That's insane. But GHQ, for its size, they do a really good job of all of their edges being straight and sharp. And you kind of need that on vehicles that are square. You can't just haphazardly just kind of throw things on there. And even some flame, I don't like the Flames of War game. I think their models are pretty cool. And some of their models are cartoonish in some dimensions. Not horribly so, but enough, you know, the tops of Panzer III turrets come to mind. And those models are basically brand new. And it's not that they're worn out or anything. I think they were always that way. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was a business decision. Maybe it was a stylistic choice. Maybe it was something else. But I remember seeing them thrown in this bag with long Panzer 50mm guns bent all like spaghetti-ish. I'm like, I'm not buying that. You know, they're already like freaking beat up and I haven't even taken them out yet. I don't know that anybody just absolutely loved that line, though. I don't remember everybody raving like, man, I can't wait to get more of them. I'm sure there were fans, but I didn't know when. I've heard a lot of people moaning Battlefront or whatever the hell the name of the company is. Gale Force 9. I don't even know who the hell owns the rights to Flames of War stuff. But them going away from white metal to the resin and plastic. I guess they were white metal and plastic and resin, and now they're just all plastic. I don't think they still sell their early war stuff. Annoying. Yeah, everybody likes doing this crap. You know, the late war stuff. I actually am okay with that. I said I built that Yag Tiger and I felt dirty. And the King Tiger. I just felt like I was doing something wrong. Like I was cheating on my wife or something like that. And it's just weird. It's just weird. It was really, really weird doing stuff. You know, these German super weapons that, I don't know. It's kind of a weird feeling. I've never experienced anything like that. I don't know what it is. See how this will hold. Next year, Battlefront.com out with early war and plastic. So, 30 years ago when I was doing this scale, I really liked the white metal models. I really liked the MMS. I really liked the ones that were all, multiple pieces in white metal. I've definitely changed. I actually prefer this material I'm working with. It's just so much more versatile. And you can drop it on the ground if something were to happen like that, and it won't destroy itself. As opposed to white metal that it is just, you're done. And the white metal is, you can only glue things with super glue or epoxy. Here you can use super glue, epoxy, multiple plastic things. You can drill into it easy. It's forgiving. You know, I still don't like plastic figures, but I do like the plastic vehicles, at least in this scale. They'd also, in this scale, they'd also be very, very heavy if they're white metal. Maybe that's part of the equation. So I cut off last night, and then my wife was in the room already assembling stuff for my daughter's dorm. Thought we were doing that today, so I joined her and spent about an hour with her putting things, helping her put those things together. That was kind of fun. So something I was supposed to do today anyways, I already got a head start on it, so. Looking like this didn't seat. I'm gonna leave it how it is. These things are way too brittle for that kind of fine finagling. I got a lot of vehicles that I'm going to start having to break people's hands if they touch them in the wrong way and break them. Maybe I should just solo game this stuff. French, Brits, and German hard plastic infantry 2. Great news, good timing 2. Polish and Soviets will follow later. New plastic Pacific 2. Is Pacific that popular? Is it that popular? I don't know. You guys across the pond interested in the Pacific at all? I just think the Japanese just don't make a very good enemy. They just, Germans are the perfect enemy. Perfect. They got cool stuff. They're evil. Got lots of interesting vehicles. They fought everybody at once. Good thing. Good thing they weren't smart about that. Not you. You're not interested in the Pacific. I don't blame you. I don't mind painting some of the Japanese stuff. I just don't. Like if I did Burma, okay, I could do some Japanese tanks, some infantry. Their guns all suck. They're nothing to be excited about. They're ugly. They're undercalibered. If they run into a Matilda, they're screwed. I mean, they don't have anything to do with. They got no way to take a Matilda out unless human bomb, kind of like Bugs Bunny. You take the bomb up there and you hit it with a hammer. You say, go hide underneath the tank and hit it with a hammer. Self-exploding bomb. Just seems very one-sided. It'd be fun to play the Japanese. You can make all kinds of noise and stuff like that and just like mow your guys down. But, you're trying to win no matter who you're playing, so that's kind of a weird. I mean, the Japanese Navy stuff early in the war is pretty okay. I played a fair amount of that stuff. ABDA stuff up to Guadalcanal. They should have just stuck to fighting the Chinese. They start taking on more prepared forces and with that said, I do look forward to painting some Japanese stuff at some point. But I remember back in the day when I was playing flight simulator stuff, Aces of the Pacific, and I played that a fair amount. Man, the Japanese Army aircraft were just horrible. Horrible. Between the Nate with the fixed landing gear and the Oscar, which had no armor and had 2 freaking machine guns, a 30 cal and a 50 cal. They're just garbage. No markings to line these pieces up. Luckily, I put a lot of Panzer IV mufflers on, so I kind of know where they go, but I wouldn't buy any of these re-released. Not unless they're retooled, and I'm sure they're not. Piece 42. What the hell is piece 42? And also these kits that have a bunch of extra pieces aren't really conducive to new builders. Kids can't understand. Being a kid, you can't understand 42. It is that piece. You can't understand why what's all these extra pieces you don't need. It just doesn't make any sense to them. I'm going to go ahead and take the top hatch off too. When I first started gaming World War II stuff, I was surrounded by several people who had this, if there aren't Americans in it, I'm not interested in playing attitude. I don't understand it. I don't think that's a common American attitude, at least that I've encountered. Almost kind of like the attitude that they have in movies. Oh, the movie's about a capture of a submarine by the British and the capture of the Enigma machine. All right, well, we'll put a bunch of Americans in there like they did it. That's just... Wargamers don't normally play stuff like that. Like, okay, well, there's not any Americans in it, we can't play it. They don't do highly weird kind of stuff. But these particular people, 3 of them that I can think of right off the bat, they definitely, if it was a... They were a World War II started with Pearl Harbor kind of crowd. And I'm like, what kind of hole you been under? First of all, I don't want to play Americans if I can play Brits. You know, Brits are a hell of a lot more interesting than Americans. But these guys wanted to do World War II naval and they wanted to do the Pacific, and I'm like, well, we got to do early war because after Guadalcanal, it's like it's really one-sided. And I don't like one-sided conflicts. At least they're one-sided on a gaming point. The people that are actually there were probably wondering if they're going to live through this to see the week, but you know, in retrospect, it was absolutely devastating for the Japanese. So when things are one-sided like that, I'm just not interested in playing them. I'm a little bit better about that now than I used to be. I was really bad about it before. There's a good fit. Now it'd be more like, well, you know, you can make the victory conditions so either side can achieve them, but like, why do I want to do naval engagements and with German destroyers in 1944, you know? All right, that is the double hatch of the Brummbar. Okay, that's all complete. So we're going to take this out, but let's take this out. Let's see what this rear plate figures in here. Oh, I actually can't glue it. Well, let's see how this stayed together. I can't glue it because then I can't access the T-pins and stuff. We'll go do that today. Okay, that fits on there okay. This looks like it goes. Like this, but it's got like a shelf over it. All right, we're gonna have to look at photographic evidence. I'm not buying that. Sounds shifty. Let's see. Let's do a Google image search for a Brummbar's ass. Actually, I wasn't going to search for that, but let me see what I get with that. I don't get anything inappropriate. I don't know how that was possible. Oh, I see. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Never, ever, ever seen that before. Okay, so we mount the muffler here, and above it there's like a little rain cover that this sits on top of it like that. Kind of cool, honestly. Probably got tired of this muffler rusting completely. Let's just go ahead and glue this to this. Germans didn't want their mufflers rusting. That's the thing about Germans. Sometimes they're so thoughtful, and sometimes they're just rat bastards. You just never know what you're going to get. And I believe this is cheated off to the left side a little bit. Let's take a look. It's not centered on the back. No, according to this, it's actually cheated the other way. Actually, the Brummbar looks really good with some of the plates missing. Maybe I will do that. This is the early Brummbar, by the way. Later, they had some other modifications that they did to it. So not putting Zimmerit on this, I'm perfectly fine with. I don't know if this is going to touch in the back. We'll go ahead and add some glue to that. Move this in place. I do get a thrill out of building some of these less than stellar kits and making them look okay. You know, anybody can build a model that's top tier. But these old crusty things, no, I'd never buy that. Oh, it turned out pretty good. I said, yes, most things turn out okay if you put your heart into it. You know, just give it a chance. Okay, the spot for the jack is back here in the back. Let's go ahead and put the ubiquitous Nazi jack. Okay, where is she? That's actually one of those parts I wouldn't mind not using. I had a couple extra ones and I used them on the Panzer IVs. And I really liked how those turned out. That was a happy moment. Taking those armor fast Panzer IVs, which honestly, I absolutely loved that build because the plastic on the armor fast, I don't know what the hell it's made out of, but it is stellar. On those particular ones, it was just lubey enough that it had some flex to it. It sanded like a dream. I was able to cut off those sausages of the sprue that I was able to use for the little round pistol ports on it. Everything went really well on that build. That's probably, of all the kits I've put together, the one I enjoyed the most, believe it or not. But I can't get any more of them because I'm out of German jacks. and they need some extra parts to make that vehicle come to life. It's a little lacking in that department. Okay, I don't know about all these tools on the back. I'm gonna do a little bit of research before I go and just start throwing them back there, because I find it's kind of suspect where they have me just throw them on there. The way they're shown, just especially for a kit that has a lot of common parts for other things. Hey, this little rain cover is cute. I like that. How'd this get on? Not bad. Let me put my glasses on, take a look at this thing. It's not bad. It's not bad. Not bad for $8. It's got a little bit of a gap at the front we're gonna have to fill in with some putty, no big deal. Have to do that on many kits. Not a bad little model. I'm gonna go grab a Coke. I'll be right back. so let's take a look at some of these parts that they do say to include on here, and I will take a look and see if those are suggested to go in the correct location. So based on what is left, we're definitely putting this on here. Here's a little box for the jack to go on, which they have me put it up there, which is really strange that the block that the jack block is up here, but the jack is all the way in the back. It's shit like that why the Germans lost the war. Okay. And then we've got some gun cleaning stuff, a shovel, a spanner, as you Brits call it. There's a big old spanner and a little wrench. All right, so let me go take a look, because this is suspect where it has me put these. Let's take a look at a drawing or some models of some Brummbars and see what they have on them. And I guess the radio antenna is back here somewhere. Up here on the superstructure. Could make a little block for that too. Okay, here's Dragon Models mid-production Brummbar. Let's see what we got here. See if this is considered a mid-production or an early one. Looks the same. Oh, this has the air filter from the Panzer IV H. No, this is definitely an early Brummbar. Okay, the Tamiya model seems to have the right top. Oh. See if we can get away with this. Now, I'll leave it closed. You could have this open and a machine gun sits in there and a guy's open, so you've got some point defense. I'll leave it closed, and in game terms you can always give them one there that's just not shown on the model. That works. There should be a periscope here. I don't know that they give you one to put on there. I don't think they do. All right, let me go to, let me add on my Brummbar search, let me add Tamiya to the front. Let's make sure we get the early model one. I don't see any tools on the rear deck, and that's just fine by me because I can just save them for other vehicles. I do see that block up there where it's supposed to be. All right, we're going to go ahead and put that block up there. Spanner has other meanings in the UK. Are there woke meanings? No doubt. Oh, not? Okay. I'm going to have to look that up. You're going to make me learn the English language. You're going to make me learn the British language. All right. I don't know about the other tools. I don't see any evidence of them being strewn about. Found one. The spanner. I'm going to use my cutters. This thing could be very brittle where it is. Big side towards the front. Okay. You know, the locations of these things probably varied from vehicle to vehicle. It's not a hard... Okay. Let's continue on. Yeah, just for inspiration, you know. Ooh, that one's got like some guy to put like a ladder on the side of it. That's cool. You know, I'm not a fan of Schertzen, but I do like the rail when the rail gets left on there. Here's somebody that has all kinds of freaking doors and stuff for armor. That's really creative. It's just a shame to build a model of it and never use it in combat. If I wasn't trying to play an actual scale, playing in 1/35th scale honestly wouldn't be that horrible. Oh, this one's got another couple extra, like the Great Canadian Model Builder. This guy's got road wheels everywhere. He's got one up here at the front, one up here in the front. That's kind of cool. Nice when people get creative about stuff like that. All right, so I'm going to go on to scale mates. And we're going to go Tamiya Brummbar. And let's get the early one, which is this one from 1976. And let's download the instructions. And I'm not going to print these out. Let's see what they have on the rear deck. Oh man, this thing's got pistol ports. I can put those on. Handles. Oh, we could go crazy. And that's good crazy. This one has the spanner back here. Well, I like where I put mine. Okay, we got a wrench that goes up here. I like where I put mine. This doesn't seem very practical to put it on a door. I saw an article the other day. It was a comment, an article, something like that, that they said that a lot of modelers, they put a lot of stuff on the engine deck that they wouldn't have put in real life because it'd end up overheating the engine. And when you think about it that way, yeah, you want to keep that engine cool. A vehicle with no engine running is not very useful. Okay, let's move on. I don't see any of those other tools. I'm gonna leave them off. I don't mind having spares. Oh, there's a shovel over here. Sometimes your favorite vehicles end up being not necessarily ones that are the best ones on a battlefield, but ones that have some personality. I don't necessarily mind making this one with the vehicle hatches shut, because in the case I build another one, I can make that one with it open. Okay, it already has a little clipper that is stuck on there. I see no sign of... Okay, the fire extinguisher. I don't know how the hell you're supposed to put out a fire when your fire extinguisher is this small. Be better off peeing on it. It's like no sign of the cleaners. That's good. So we got some extra parts here to carry over to somebody else. it's mounted vertically here. Pistol ports, huh? Part of me wants to put them on there. It just adds a little something. I gotta find out where that sprue is from the Panzer IV. Use that. That stuff cut great. We're gonna leave the other stuff off this. I'm going to assemble everything I can on here. It's silly not to do so. I'm going to look at one thing now. Let me take a look at one more place. I'll leave these instructions up because I like that it shows me where those pistol ports are. And it looks like the antenna goes back here. So I'll have to build something for the antenna. Don't have to, but might as well. And it has no little periscope popping out. That's easy enough to do, something that kind of looks the part. Let's go see if I've got the sprues from the Panzer IV handy. Take the crew members of this and put them where I'm putting the crew members. We may use these guys at a later date. We're going to punt on it. Still gonna get the T-pins, assemble that. Probably tomorrow morning. How'd they not make it in there? That goes in Decalandia. Let me get the Panthers out of here too. Probably should be finishing stuff instead of continuing building models, but I just kind of in limbo here. Doesn't the Brummbar shot a rocket-propelled round? No. That's the Sturmorser Tiger, which is a 380 millimeter round as opposed to a 150 millimeter round. Oh, that stupid thing was on the whole time? I didn't know that. Is it? No, it wasn't. It just looks like it was. Okay, so this is what we're going to work on next, or attempt to. I have two of these, and I haven't done an unboxing on it, so it doesn't really bother me. .234/1 from Rodin. I fully expect pieces in here broken. Because they're, you know, before I get started on this, there's a lot of things I can't find because I put them away, but I did find my Soviet tank crew. So let me clean some of these guys up, because at some point, I'm going to have to fit some of these guys into turrets. So let's see what we got here. And we're going to need to do is a sharp X-Acto knife, so we can go ahead and prime these guys and see what kind of use these guys are for us. Let's take this tank commander out. Okay, and let's take this tank commander out. And let's take this tank commander out. And let's take this tank commander out. And what's this guy got? He's got like a pistol or some shit. I'll take him out as well. And we're probably going to cut some of these guys at the hip. So if you're faint of heart, look, it's just a communist. Nobody's going to miss him. All my Soviets are all communist, all my Germans are Nazis. Got to keep everything in check. I'm going to keep this X-Acto knife blade, but I'm going to switch to a new one for this because of all the things I've encountered, this is probably the most disturbing. That you can't scrape off the flash lines on these soft plastic figures. They get furry. It's weird. It's really, really weird. Let's see if we can adjust this a little bit. Let's take a look at somebody who's not extra weird, like this guy. Like this guy, we know, what exactly can we do with this guy? Well, he can be like this. He can be like this and be fine. That's actually pretty cool. And they came in 3 packs, so I got 3 of these guys. So this is actually a pretty good pose. This guy, let's do a couple things. So he's good to go. We'll leave him how he is. Let's cut him off down here at the legs. All right. Can we work with his positioning at all? I don't want to chop the figure up unless he just flat won't work. He's on a hatch. It may be a JS2 hatch that he works, so we'll set him off to the side. This guy, I don't know that we have there's much hope for him. First of all, I don't know what the F he's doing. He's passing something that nobody knows what it is, so let's chop him off at the legs. What'd Tony do today? He's chopping a bunch of communists up. Good job. Okay. It's like he's passing a revolver or a flare gun that's open. It's just weird as shit. It's just weird as shit what he's up to. I could definitely see replacing it with like a little flag. They use flags to signal, and that's what we do with him. I think I'm going to leave him as is, except we're going to take that pistol out. I'm chopping up trees. Do tell the woke brigade. We have a church that's been here a long time. St. Michael's. I believe it was Episcopal. I think they call it Episcopal. They're not Anglican, but it's basically Church of England, right? It's Catholics with no pope. Our cousins. My brother went to preschool there. Relatively big church, kind of on a prominent corner, on a lot that was full of trees. And the church was probably abandoned 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And it had been condemned. And about a month ago, 2 months ago, they knocked the thing down, which is got to be really disturbing to knock a church down. Just the idea of it is not pleasant. Especially since it wasn't particularly ugly or unattractive or anything. Anyways, they're going to use the property for something else. And they clear the entire lot. And you should have seen these hippie women. You would have thought you would have murdered all their unborn children. Well, then you'd probably actually be happy. And, oh, the trees. If you saw the town that I live in, we have too many trees. And I'm not anti-tree, just trees shouldn't be right next to your building so that they fall down and destroy everything. You know, you got to keep Mother Nature at bay. Because if you, like, stop mowing your lawn and stuff, it'll take back over. You know, you needs to be some control or whatever. I'm not anti-tree. I just think that a 60-foot tree should be 60 feet from your house. They knocked down quite a few oaks or whatever. Yeah, they're going to plant other trees, you know. Oh, you should have seen this local news group, these hippie women, like, they came unglued. They came unglued. And it's like, I can't wait to get out of this town. I don't want to live in this town anymore. And you go to somewhere like, we did a job in Houston, Texas, and Houston, Texas is the opposite of this town. Like, there ain't a tree standing there. Like, okay, you got to have some balance, okay? You can't just be like everything sticks up in the air as a freaking ugly tower, you know? You got to have some balance in there. I'm not anti-tree, but man, you know, if you have a house and you have a tree right next to the house, and that's how it came in, and something happens and it falls on your house, right? You got to fix your house, right? You also have to prevent that bullshit from happening again. You have to clear your area out, you know? There's tons of trees in Florida. And there's tons of trees around here, so it's not like we want to cut all the trees down, but you can't have them damaging your property and shit like that. You know, sidewalks, they'll build a new neighborhood, right? And they'll put trees that are lining the entranceway. I'm all for it. The problem is they don't stay that size. They grow into these behemoths that are 100 feet tall and are 3 feet across, and there's only 4 feet of green space. So they're going to just, you know, in 10 years, the area is going to look like crap. You know, you need to plan a little bit there, you know? Okay, we're going to give this guy some kind of a flag or something. I think this would be a pretty decent figure. Considering he was, you know, kind of sorry to begin with. All right. This fruitcake bringing flowers. Never accept flowers from a communist. Now, the nice thing is, he has his arm like this, which means he's a natural fit for that to be the tank. In other words, the tank opening to be like this. Natural fit for that. So we're going to cut him off down here. Never accept flowers from a communist. Tony's sayings. Or a Nazi either. You don't want flowers from a freaking Nazi. He's going to demand something that you're not going to want to give up. Never accept flowers from a totalitarian. How about that? You probably might have to take some of the side of this guy off. And let's see, it's not going to be visible. I don't mind some of the body being underneath there because it helps balance him out a little bit. Let's try thinning this out a little bit. Well, that's spot freaking on right there. I keep turning it this way, so I forget you guys are looking at it the same way I am. Look at that. That's like pretty perfect. He actually has a really good face. You know, I don't mind the plastic figures. I should leave one of these guys with flowers just so we make fun of them. Any of you guys watch Walking Dead? Remember the governor? I've got whiskey. I've got flour. I've got tulips, comrade. Oh, shit. Keep your pants on, Yuri. And this guy's a natural good position. Let's go easy on this guy. Yeah, this guy's gonna be a pain to trim. He's awfully flashy. Okay, these guys are all winners. That's what I was hoping wouldn't happen. I'm gonna glue this hatch back on with epoxy, no big deal. Okay, obviously it's a bit of a tight fit. So let's there we go. Okay. We decide this guy could be of use to us. Maybe with the right hatch. Maybe with the right hatch. He's not too bad, actually. These actually look a lot better than I thought they were going to. That's good. You know, we got these figures to use them, not to not use them. If I'm not going to use figures, you just don't buy them. Okay, I'm going to put that hatch there. All right, let's trim these guys up. Now, this is the part that sucks about plastic figures. If you guys don't soft plastic figures, if you don't know about this, I'm not surprised you don't know about this. You can't just take this panel line and scrape it down because it gets fuzzy. And I don't know what the chemical reason for that is, but you pretty much ruin the figure. So you got to take these tiny little slices out of it. Now the nice thing is none of these figures have a mold line that goes across their face. They have really good faces. They're gonna paint up really, really well. So we're just gonna come in here and It's almost like string cheese. Is almost actually how it behaves. Really similar to string cheese. Which, if you don't have kids or grandkids, you probably don't know what string cheese is. Just takes a little bit of patience. The casting on it's really good. It's as good as AB. This is as good as an AB figure. Even looks like a Yuri. Guy looks like he's got a drinking problem. Think there was anybody in the Soviet army in World War II that was a, what's that funny word? Teetotaler? People that don't drink? I doubt it. If they did, I bet they were a super heavy smoker. Smoking those really big, thick, nasty Soviet cigarettes, whatever they were called. I should be having vodka. It's too early for that. Unless it's in a Bloody Mary. But I'm not on a cruise, so I'm good. Only time I drink consistently day after day is when I'm on a cruise. And you know, that's the funny thing is that's the one thing you don't need to drink at. Like, everything goes well on a cruise. You don't need to drink on a cruise. I need to drink at work. Between cruises. Let's see if we can chop this little. Oh, people are starting to wake up. about done with them. You know, what we'll do is we'll mount them to pennies still. So when we paint them, we've got something to hold on to. But that guy's pretty much done. And this guy is a natural fit for this. Absolute natural fit. Okay, the communist, the flowered communist. I got 2 more of these figures, so the other 2 can have like a flag in their hand. This guy can be Yuri One Night Stand Petrushkin. I gotta do some research and find out what kind of flowers they have in Russia and make sure we paint them this way. Yeah, okay. Bouquets of Soviet tankers for 1,000, please. I was hoping Mr. Jeffrey would be here this morning. He posed a question for me that I really don't want to answer in long form writing. I'm not a big fan of writing stuff. Because invariably you leave stuff out, and I don't feel like doing a rough draft, and, you know, it's like you're being punished. Like, why am I doing all this homework? I'd just rather speak my mind off the cuff. And if you've had any kind of discussions on the internet, you know that things written down do not necessarily convey context, inflection, other things correctly. And you end up going round and round with somebody. There he is. You were going to ask the question again. Okay, excellent. Just rub my lamp. And here he comes. Good morning to you, sir. I'm very appreciative of my dedicated folks. And I don't know if you noticed, I don't have a Patreon channel. I'm never doing that shit. I fortunately do not need money. I'm not even remotely independently wealthy, but I don't have a very expensive lifestyle or whatever. This hobby is to have me do whatever I want to keep me from going into therapy. And I appreciate you guys coming along. And I say that loosely because, you know, my job's frustrating, but it's not anywhere close to seeing a therapist. But I talked about this with a wife yesterday. It's like, you know, yesterday, the day before, a lot of people drink after work, and I never do. I've got this is my fantasy land I can go to, and everything is good here. Even when we encounter problems building things. Go for it, painting. Go for it. So your question was, and I can find it, you basically said, what did I think about the new DBA 3.0 conversion, what have you? Let's do this a little bit different. Let's do this a little bit different. Even though I've got like the holy light shining behind me. It's Transom Light 30. Let's sober everybody up by flipping this and flipping this over twice. There we go. I don't have any concerns about it because I'm not in the know, but I can just tell you, with having put out a couple hundred videos about 3.0 and questions that keep coming out and all the work that we have done face to face, it is nearly going to be an impossible task akin to pissing up a rope to try to do it by, first of all, if I was playing 3.0 still, I wouldn't want to be involved in it. And not because I don't think any of those people have anything valuable to contribute to it, but that it is a lot of back and forth. Like, I was on the fact group for DBA for a long time, and I asked a question, and it was just like typical committee stuff. You would get one person that would be intransigent. Is that the right word? Anyways, they were just like, it's my way or the highway, and that's that. And you would end up, I'd bring up a point and nothing would get resolved months after months. Meanwhile, we've already put out 3 or 4 more videos since then. So we played frequently enough that if something didn't get resolved in a timely manner, I felt like it was just creating a bigger and bigger snowball. Trying to create something from scratch with 3 people on 2 different continents, 2 of which I suspect are not very active. I'm not going to mention any names, but of those 3 people, well, I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm going to mention names. Paul definitely I trust the most of the 3. I've interacted with him. I've known him. I don't know him personally. I have interacted with him a lot throughout a couple decades through Instant Messenger. Played some other games with him back and forth. Played by mail for about a year. Seems like a nice fellow. Seems like his heart's in the right place. Which is the important thing if you're working on a rule set like that. Probably the most important thing, other than just being fair and balanced, is your heart needs to be in the right place. I almost made a comment. I don't like making negative comments on the internet because the next thing you know, you have to defend your point, and I'm not interested in getting a Juris Doctorate. But there's one particular individual that always posts on the DBA Facebook group. Every single post for years. He cannot post on the DBA group. He can't make a post on the DBA group and not mention the other rule set that he's playing. It's almost like you got an axe to grind of unusual size. And it's like, I'm fine with other people, playing other rule sets, but if you go to the DBA Facebook group and every time you're pushing another rule set, what are you even doing here? Anyways, it's just some old coot. I don't like confronting people like that. Just because I don't say something. What is it? I said something a couple of years ago. I said, just because I don't come out against what you're saying doesn't mean I agree with you. It's just not worth the fight. I'm not interested in converting people. It's like, this is what I do. If you like this, cool. You're welcome here. We can talk about other stuff. If you hate 1/72nd scale World War II shit, what are you doing here? Bugger off. But anyways, getting back to the question, I don't know. It just kind of throws up a lot of loose point. I'm not going back to the DBA fold probably ever, because just before I threw my hands up, I was actually going to work on, not for money or anything like that, just some alternative rules to make DBA more of what I wanted it to be. And Mitch too, but he's really easygoing. I could tell him, I want to paint all my guys pink, and he'd be like, all right, I'll paint my guys pink too. He's super easygoing with just about everything. Just to give it a more fulfilling experience. And my tack is not to make it 36 elements. It seems from reading their descriptions, they want to make a big battle DBA that somehow can be dumbed down to a 12, maybe not dumbed down, but can be reduced to a 12 element figure count. And I would be like, I'm fine with the 12 elements, 15 elements. I just want them to have more individuality between the units, like to have more flavor, so that there's a reason to play Vikings that are all blade play differently than Romans that are all blade. Not significantly different, but just so that they feel different, to an incentive to build another army. So that when you get done playing Mongols, you feel like you played Mongols. When you get done playing Romans, you feel like you played Romans, not Vikings. And they can be minor changes, but stuff like that. That's the direction I would have gone in, not necessarily. And definitely do away with the whole lining up of this whole, you got to line up like this. You can't line up like this. You can't combat like this. And we made some headway, but at the same time that happened, work got stupid for me. And I was getting really frustrated with the fact that I couldn't count on, if it was just Mitch and I putting it together, it would have probably gone off fine. But so-and-so's going to come. All right, so we'll plan on this battle and we'll play test this with it. Oh, now he's not coming. Now he is coming. Now somebody else is coming. Now somebody else is supposed to arrive. And it's like all within a day. And I'm like, I just can't do this. I can't deal with that kind of chaos in my therapy when work is so chaotic. So I'm not the guy for it. And my heart's just not in it anymore. I have zero interest in doing it anymore. I'm actually fine. The 20 millimeter in the DBA is totally flipped. 5 years ago, I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to do any World War II stuff. And now I'm like, I don't know when I'll paint 15s again, if ever. And I'm not getting rid of them. It's not like I dislike any of the ones that I have, but just my heart's not in it anymore. I'm going to do a lot of work that is not going to be relaxing for many people that are going to be, some people are going to like it, and some people are going to be very boisterous about argue with me, and I have zero tolerance for arguing with people because I don't argue with people. Like, if I see, say, a painting I don't like, I don't have to tell that person, it's a piece of shit. I avoid problems, and I'm just very intolerant of people that like don't contribute anything and want to be like all negative about stuff, so the ship has sailed for me, and I'm actually quite happy about it. I probably would not be doing really well right now if I was still trying to get everybody together and play DBA and have some kind of common understanding so that we all can play. Because the advantage of DBA, what I really enjoyed is, you build your army, nobody touches it, so nobody can damage your stuff. It's a limited amount of figures you can do, and you can bring it from table to table and play with the things that you created with other folks. But, if everybody has this, different understanding of what the rules mean, it's just too big. It's just too big an ask for me. So I definitely went in the right direction. But I hope those guys do really well. I don't wish anything bad on them. I don't really comment anything on the DBA group. I still like the size of the armies. I just wish the game was a little bit more, less abstract. I'm not an abstract gamer. I never was. I never will be. I just kind of tolerated it because it was a way forward. But what I found out is the last 5 to 10 years, I tolerated a lot of DBA stuff, and I played a lot of DBA for the sake of the community, and it was keeping me from doing stuff I really wanted to do, which is this. And the community, not everybody, and not you guys, but for the most part, a lot of folks were just like, we're just not interested. So why am I sacrificing my game, myself, my limited amount of time that I have on this earth for something that it's not my passion? So, you know, that, and it's just so damn hot. I mean, I haven't gone and gamed with the guys in months, and I don't plan on going to until it gets back into the 70s. That's the last thing I need at work with real field temperatures of 120 to go sit in a shed, so I don't know. I'm not really thrilled of going back and playing in that environment anyways. Nothing against the guys. I'd go hang out with them, You don't have to play a game. But anyways, back to the original question that I like to get sidetracked on and not finish. One of the three peoples on the group is always pushing their own variant of the rule set, and I don't know how that's going to work. They were a playtester for DBA. I was not. I did not want to be a playtester for DBA because I could see I did it for a little bit. I did it for like a month, and then Phil would send this email out. Try this. So you try that, and in the middle of trying that, he would change. It's kind of like when we were playtesting. Like, all right, let's try this. Okay, this works. Cool. So let's do this now, including this. Oh, is that better or worse? It's worse. Okay, well, let's go this way and go. You can't just change 5 things and wonder, okay, the game doesn't play better. Well, why? You take baby steps, and baby steps take a long time. So I saw after about a month that I was gonna be playing the game wrong a lot of times, and I'm like, that's just not very fulfilling. So I'm like, I gotta opt out of this. But one of the guys is a playtester, and he only plays 100 Years War stuff. Like, how can you playtest DBA that covers 3,000 years, but you're only interested in 1,400 to 1,500, or 1,300 to 1,450? I don't know. So I hope they do well. I don't wish any harm on them. I hope they had the decency to not charge for it. That's just a decent thing to do. None of us are going to be rich making DBA variants. So at that point, you might as well give Phil the credit. But other things that have spun off from DBA, they've charged for it and can't seem to mention Phil Barker's name. And I'm not related to Phil Barker. I met him one time. He seems like a nice guy. I understand he's a curmudgeon. I will probably be a bigger curmudgeon than him at his age, and be proud of it. And I understand why he's the way that he is. He's probably dealt with a lot of people that just won't let something go. And ultimately, it's his rule set. If you don't like his rule set, don't play his rule set. And that's kind of the attitude that he has. And I don't blame him, and he probably doesn't care now. He's probably to the age where, I had an older dad, and in the last couple of years, he was just like, yeah, whatever, dude, But there's some people that just won't let things go. I heard that the guy that created Armati, Artie Conliffe, got basically driven off the deep end for the same reason. He would have guys that would play his games that just would not let things go, and he's just basically, you know what, F it, and just moved on. Gaming should be therapeutic. It should not be a pain in the ass, stress-inducing. It may be stressful, like, okay, I got 2 pips, I don't know what to do, that kind of stuff, but no more than that. You shouldn't be worried about, like, man, I'm playing with this asshole and I can't lose against him. Don't play with assholes. Don't play with anybody that you're not willing to, to lose a game with. So I hope it goes well for them. I hope to get more people interested in it. I just, gaming's really weird. And I think that a lot of folks nowadays, or all along, but there's really no excuse really for it now. Back in the day, you were only, hey Ben, you were only exposed to whatever you saw at your local hobby store. In our case, or clubs for you guys in Europe, or in built-up areas. I live in the land of suburbia, so there's no built-up areas here, so to speak. We were exposed to whatever somebody was running at a show. So, like, let's say somebody's running bolt action. That's all you know, right? And you can't play it. But now there's all kinds of spins, and it just seems like there are these rule sets that everybody plays, regardless of how shitty the rules may or may not be, and they don't expand out of that. And I don't know what it is. I think that it's maybe you're getting gamers that are involved in too many different games. You know, they're like, well, I can't really look into something that's more in depth than Flames of War because, you know, I'm also doing, you know, mechs and 40K and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but you just got to do whatever you want to do. And if people want to follow along and do their thing, that's cool, you know. But I hope it goes well for them, but it's way too much work. Way too much work. Even I saw how much work it was going to take. And I don't know what they want to do with it, whether they just want to play a DBA 3.0 that's more clarified, which it's a decent game. There's nothing wrong with 3.0. It's just frustrating that, you know, after thousands of games, you're still finding stuff that you're playing wrong, even though your intent is to play it correctly. And like I said, I consider myself more than an average intelligent person. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, you know, but I'm not stupid. And to just be encountering those issues that come up over and over again is just really, really frustrating. And the game is just really abstract, and that's hard for people to comprehend. I think someone is working on a new fantasy version of DBA. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, is they're starting with fantasy, and I have zero interest in fantasy. Zero. The very first thing that would have to change for me to be interested in a DBA type game is you have to have a game where you can fight like this. At least maybe initially, and then you have to, you know, and then you slide back over. But this whole that you have to line up, it ends up being this weird geometric game. And I made an A in geometry, but still, you know, it just seems very abstract and weird. So I would rather take my 15mm figures and never play a game with them ever again than continue going down the road I was going of frustration and them keeping me from doing something I really want to do. Like, I don't want to go to I got to get these done by a show again. F that. I'm done. When am I going to get these done? They'll get done when they get done. When are you going to get these ready for a game? We'll see. You know? Here there is a new combined version DBA through Hunt. The works appears to have official sanction. This is what I asked about, yeah. So I don't know if my thoughts were... I appreciate that you care what my thoughts are. And Mitch has been playing 3.0. And I don't poo-poo somebody for playing it. Just don't get me involved in it, you know? I don't go over to play in probably 2 or 3 months, and he's still playing every week. So it's not like he's not getting his jollies out, you know, doing what it is. It's just... You're not getting your jollies with me in 90-degree weather sweating it, you know. Speaking of sweating it, here I go and get a tan on the right-hand side of my body. I do not need any more of a tan. I'm plenty good. But I just don't see how it would be really frustrating to be all the back and forth in emails. I absolutely hate email because you pose a question, you bring these things up, and then somebody answers whatever the hell they want. Then the second person doesn't even look at the responses that the first person did and add to it, or they just start from scratch. Everybody's running around chasing a tail that they can't see. It's exhausting. And it's BS that happens at work all the time that there's no solution for that. I'm going to have to do another 15 years. And I don't want to bring that to my I'm not at work life. My impression is that they're going to rewrite the rules, translating from Barkerese to modern rule style language for a wider audience. Well, I hope it goes well for them. You know, I think DBA 3.0 is a decent game. In some ways, it works as a military simulation. In other ways, it could be better. But it does get your troops on the tabletop. I don't have anything bad to say about, about it. I hope Paul has a lot of influence in it. I'll put it that way. He seems to be a really even-handed fellow. Fixes solid ox to his liking. I would like a game personally that not all solid ox are the same. It would be different for each army. And not necessarily because I want to make a power army, but so when you play Alexander's solid auxilia, they behave differently than, say, the army that I built that I can't even think of who the hell they are, the bamboo freight train folks. They could just behave differently. During your hot game last Tuesday, the aligning was a bit annoying to decipher, especially when sorting out flank contact view situations. I've said it before, DBA, you focus way too much time on aligning and not enough on combat, and I wish it were flipped. I'm not saying combat needs to be more complicated, but it needs to have more flavor. You need to add more seasoning to it. And the alignment needs to be more natural. Having once been a medieval recreationist, we tended to line up on enemy units for best combat. Sure, you can't leave an exposed flank, but, I'm sure sometimes you lined up like this. You're off by a smidge. You're not trying to do something cheesy. That's just, when you're medieval guys, what do? Okay, avoid that guy, look out for them, go towards them. Not like, go towards them, but make sure you go over and you're doing weird things. So, anyway, I hope it goes well for them because it's a good game, but I don't know, people are weird. You could do everything. I pushed the last 3 years, I pushed DBA really, really hard. I don't know that I could have done more. And the response globally on videos was great, okay? There's people interested, but we just couldn't get more people to show up at our shows. We couldn't get anybody to show up at Historicon. It freaking died. And, at some point, really, should I be pushing this so hard when this isn't really my first love? So my gaming from now on is going to be I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to play the rules that I want to play. And if you don't like them, that's fine. You weren't invited anyways. It's just, And I am going to film things. The filming part is fun. It really is. So if you guys are why aren't you doing any videos? Well, I'm not gaming anything right now. But I do enjoy doing the videos. I like doing the commentary. I think that it helps me process things. Not that I have a processing disorder, but as we get older, I think the distractions that we encounter throughout the day just really put a toll on our brains. So talking things out and why you're doing things, for me, is a lot of fun. I really do enjoy it immensely. And sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes I say, look at these blue guys over here, and I meant the green ones. We all do that. My stuff's not perfect. It's never going to be. But I also don't want to spend 8 hours editing a 1 hour video because then it just becomes torture. So if you've never played WRG 6, Probably wouldn't appreciate the simplicity of DBA. Well, and probably could be, it probably could have been fixed, but there's a lot of things that Phil came up with that I would have never come up with. I'll be honest with you. I think in certain ways, and I like the way I think, and I think extremely logically in things that make sense, not abstract, outside the box kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that Phil came out with that I would call abstract and think outside the box. He's brilliant. He's just goes about things in a different way. If I'm writing DBA using the same language that he does, I'm using bullet points, okay? Because, like, for instance, in school, I took a lot of classes of history, a lot of history classes. I detest with a passion writing papers. I love learning, and I love taking notes, and I took really good notes. So how do I take notes? Bullet points, one sentence at a time, and they build upon each other. Not long carry out things. Where is it? I don't know. It's back here somewhere. That's just not how I operate. I never have. So I just would have written things totally different. So this set of rules that I'm pretty happy with, when I get to gaming, if I get there, and I encounter something that doesn't make any sense, and the rules are not very abstract at all, so that I like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to play in that way. I mean, the rules are out of print anyways. What are you going to do? So, I just don't want to play a game anymore that's like, well, everybody in the game group agrees that the rules don't make any sense and they shouldn't be this way, but we can't play a different way because when we go to the tournament, we have to play the way the rules are written, and we end up doing ourselves a disservice and hate the tournament because it's making us play a game that doesn't make sense. I don't want to ever be in that situation ever again in my entire life, ever. It's extremely unsatisfying. So I fully plan on going to shows. I didn't go to Historicon this year. I don't know that I have a huge interest in going again, honestly. And it's not cost. Cost is not one of them. It cost about $500, and it's well worth it for the 5 days. It's well worth it. It is. I had a great time. However, it is a ton of time off. It is a pain to take all the time off. It's a pain to clean up everything when you're back off. And it's a lot of time in a car. It just, So I plan on going to shows, hanging out with folks, having a couple beers, playing something, having a good laughs, showing up to somebody's game table that doesn't know me and play extremely anti-woke. Make people grow some thicker skin and have a good time. WRG was his rules to make people that wanted more detail happy. That was all before my time. I never played an Ancients or medieval game before 2004. Never did. Nobody was playing them. What do you mean you never played with Romans? Nobody ever played with Romans, And I didn't have this intense desire to do it, so I never played with them, So does that answer your question, Jeffrey? See, that's why I can't write it down. So I hope them the best. I just don't see anything other than a Games Workshop, Warlords game type product really bringing people in. And the problem is that there's a couple issues. The first issue is gamers we're not a very big part of the population. Second of all, I've seen it before. People are nomadic. People will be like, I'm all into this for like 6 months. And then even before the next convention goes out, oh, I've moved on to something else. Okay. There's people that are like that in every single thing they do. And there's, unfortunately, a really high percentage of people that are that way. I probably should be that way, considering I'm a Gemini. If I look at I looked at the other day what Geminis are, and I'm like, I'm none of those things. That's bullshit. Somebody was smoking something in Greece and started writing a bunch of shit down. Like, I'm none of those things. But a lot of people are, flighty, can't be counted on. Yeah, I'll be there, and then they're not there. Stuff like that really gets to me. I don't want to be around people that say, I'll be there, and then they're not there. I have many faults. That's not one of them. We all have many faults. But the other issue is that a lot of people go for the eye candy. And Warlord Games and Games Workshop throw a lot of advertising out there that you don't have to look very deep to find their products. And people just, they don't get it. They don't stay gaming something long enough to dive deep enough into gaming to go into these other games. And a lot of people, this is not official, this is just my opinion, what I've noticed, a lot of folks go crazy for, say, Warhammer 40K or whatever it is, or Cruel Seas or whatever. And then they leave. And they're games that are so prominent to find as opposed to other ones that they get new blood in that kind of keeps that amount of people in it all the time. Whereas if you take something like DBA, you get somebody, and if they leave, it's hard to find a replacement for them. In our case, it seemed like we got maybe 10 players at the most every event that we did. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with having 4 players, but it's really frustrating to put all this effort into it to get more players, and people, especially ones that lived in the same town that the convention was held in. Oh man, I'm glad you're there. I'll be there at the next convention. And they just never show up. And that happened enough times that it's just one thing along with many others that just kind of just soured me on, look, why am I holding myself back, doing this? And I've already played the game almost 3,000 times. It's not like I didn't give it a chance, So, that's my thoughts on it. I hope them the best, but I don't think it's going to make the game hugely more popular. Like, the game should be, as much effort as I put in it, there should be as many people in the US playing the game as there are in the world. And it just didn't happen. It's not like it's got to be that popular. It just got to be like, I go to Historicon and like, there's fucking nobody there to play. And I'm like, all right, I would have just been perfectly happy. Like, okay, nobody wants to play. Cool. I'll just play demos or do the shops or do videos or, do that kind of stuff. So that's all right. I'm just waiting for one of those cocksuckers that was like, "Oh, I'm finally here at the show." Well, you're one of the reasons I don't do videos anymore, because you kept saying you were coming and you're not coming anymore. The last show that we did, the last show that was done, I didn't do anything to it. They still don't have the results up, and I'd have them up within 2 days. And it's a lot of work, but you got to keep people interested in. How many? If I couldn't keep the interest up doing all the work that I did, doing a tenth of that, what do you think's going to happen? you know?
Played very few games of Mortem at Gloriam. It has more flavor and test skill. Pacto version is compatible with Big Valve. You know, I would love to play it in Pacto, but I don't have it in me to be the point man on something else that's not modifiable. I think I would like it. I think I would like Mortem at Gloriam. I just don't have it in me to have my normal day job and be like, okay, well, let's try to figure out how to play these rules. I've got, why was I going to say maneuver? It's not maneuver. I have impetus. Impetus. I bought the rules 3 or 4 years ago. I have no interest to sit down and crack my brain open and try to figure it out. Now, if somebody said like, hey, I'll come over to your place and we'll do Wednesdays in the air conditioning and we'll go back and forth and figure this out, I'd probably go for that. But I'm not going to go play in a hot box where I don't know who the hell's going to show up and the rug gets pulled after me. Oh, we're going to work on the rules. Oh, never mind. Too many people show up. Now we got to do a different game. I'm like, I'd rather not game, you know. That kind of BS is turned to 11 at work, maybe even 13, and I'm just like, I just don't have it in me anymore, you know. So, you know, when you've worked at a job for 30 years, my job should be a hell of a lot less challenging than it is. And it's like challenging every freaking moment. I guess that's probably why I'm still employed. Job security. But I am not willing to do any of those things that I have to deal with at work in my personal life. I mean, I'm like, I would start a revolution against it. So, dealing with emails, emailing people, not interested. Confronting people that are problems, not interested. You know, being outside in the heat, not interested. And I'm getting more intolerant of that as I get older. So, We'll always come back to DBA for pickup games, filling games, and I still have over 30 armies consolidating right now.
yeah, and at this point, I'm a person of my word. I really am. Like I said, I have many faults. That's not one of them. I said I'm not playing DBA again. I'm not going to, because I don't want to, and I've also said I wasn't going to. So, in a world full of people that don't say what they do, I want to be the exception. I don't care if I'm an asshole. I'm going to be different. You know, I said I'm not going to do that. I said I'm not doing drugs. I'm not going to do drugs. Damn it. No, caffeine, alcohol don't count. God damn it. So, like I told the guy at work, I said, you can say anything you want about me, but I'm not like anybody else here. He's like, yep, you're right. You're not like anybody else. I said, I don't want to be. But with that said of me not playing DBA again, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I really don't. I don't have a negative attitude about it. Feel free to enjoy it. I don't, you know, if people are playing it, they were playing it the other day. I had to go pick up these tanks from Joe, and they were playing. I stayed for a little bit, you know. I just don't want to look up questions for people that could possibly be, you know, incorrect, even though I tried my best.
You forgot to mention Outpost ranges, at least 28mm, have been bought by Badger Games.
Is that a Badger Games that's in the U.S.? I want to say there's a Badger Games that sells at Historicon. I have a ton of 28mm stuff. I liked Outpost game stuff. Outpost. I have a few of their figures. They're quirky, but quirky figures work. Okay, I think this guy's... Let's trim his hand up a little bit. So I'm still a member of the Facebook DBA groups. I still send likes to people. I don't want to be, discouraging like, the rules suck. They don't. I just don't want to fight that fight anymore. I did it for too long and it's just not worth it anymore. I've moved on. And maybe sometime in the future I'll use my figures for a different set of rules, but I would rather not use them again, ever game with my 15 millimeter figures, than have them keep me from doing stuff I really want to do. Yeah, he has some unusual figures that nobody else makes, I never ordered from him directly. There was a company in Missouri that had a weird name that carried his games, and at Historicon in 2011 they got out of it. I forget what the hell it was. There was like a name of the company that was like initials, and they carried a bunch of different stuff, and Outpost was one of the things that they had, and I picked up quite a few Outposts from him at that point. And then I think somebody was selling some in the flea market at Historicon several years ago, and I picked up some Arabs again. I don't mind the 15 millimeter figures. I don't mind painting them. I just don't want to do them for a specific game. It's the US one. Okay. They have a big footprint at Historicon. Big. It's all 28 millimeter all the time. So it's like I go over there and it's like, I don't want anything over there, It's like if I went to the gun show in the US, and what do? All you do is carry Glocks. I'm like, I'm not going over there. I don't want nothing to do with that shit. I don't care how popular they are. It's just something I don't want to have anything to do with. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't care how popular 28 millimeter is. I'm not painting any. I've given my reasons why. And the cost of them isn't one of them. These little furry bastard. Yeah, I got to do one of these guys with flowers. We'd make fun of this commie bastard. It's going to be a point of making jokes for things for this guy. Roses are red, violets are blue. My tank has big gun. Fuck you. I gotta put him in the KV2 for that. KV2 Commander. Sold. If I could only quit my day job. If only. Magister Militum up for sale too? The old chariot? I don't know, their figures are extra quirky. You can make them work. You can make just about any figures work. I've made some horrible figures work. It's kind of a fun challenge. Not for everybody, but
I gotta finish a KV2 next. You know the problem with KV2s? Not a lot of inspiration for writing on them. I've never seen a KV2 with numbers on it, and only like two different sayings. So it's either saying number one, saying number two, a red star, or no markings. That's pretty much it. So, all right, let's get some pennies. Wow, I guess I could try super glue. It's just that super glue is not gonna work. I may have to epoxy these guys to a penny. Temporary. They're retiring. Well, that's what happens. Is you get somebody who has a passion for this hobby, and people in their family don't want to continue being hamstrung people that are successful, this is my generalizations, people that are successful or can get by in this hobby industry have to basically do it 24/7. And if that's not your passion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If that's not your passion, you don't want to do it. The company I work for, the owner's children didn't want to continue doing what they were doing. And I don't blame them. It's a hot, dirty job, and if that's not what their passion is, they want to go do other things. There's always this post that goes around, and it pisses me off, honestly, because it's just so... It sends the wrong message. It sends an incorrect message. And the message is basically something along the lines. It's a post that goes something like, you don't have to get a degree to do these jobs that pay really well. These are the jobs that people don't respect. These are the jobs that people do respect. But here's the jobs that keep America running, and it's the ones that people don't respect. And it's like, mechanic, plumber, air conditioning, repairman, construction worker, welder, that kind of stuff. And while there is truth to that, you can make a good living and not suffer with the environment, because all of those jobs, working as somebody who works in construction, I would not want anybody in my family doing them, because you're hot all the time. You have to deal with people that are difficult to deal with, that have, they're rough around the edges. I wouldn't want my daughter working with any of them. I'm not saying that you can't have issues with other people in other industries, because, there's harassment and stuff, and attorneys and stuff like that. But I'm just saying is you're guaranteed to be in a hot freaking environment that's always going to be hot, dirty. You're going to be wore out at the end of the day. And yes, they can pay well, and frequently they do, but there is a downside to it. And, the kids of the owner probably didn't want to deal with that shit. The owner probably makes good money, but he comes home, exhausted and dirty, and, you don't want to do that. You don't have to be a social influencer, but you also don't have to be working in a place where, that you're hot all the time. I always say that I don't dislike my job. I hate the conditions I have to do it under. So I hate that when it goes around, because I wouldn't want my daughter doing any of those things, because even if she could deal with the environment, the other people that she has to deal with, I go to get gas the other day, all right? And there's this one gas station, I didn't want to go there, but I was running on fumes. I didn't notice, and I was running on fumes, and I had to get to work, so I'm like, I'm going to get gas. And there's one particular gas station, there's always these tree cutting guys that always show up there. And I don't care that they're tree cutting guys. I care that they're just basically trash folks. They're always always complaining. So it's just a bad attitude. And it's like, I don't want my daughter working in a place where people are like that, And I've worked in the construction industry. There's no way to solve that. There's no way to solve that kind of stuff. It's just always going to be that way. The owners of these companies don't want to do what they see their parents have been doing the whole time for whatever reason. Either they're a slave to their job all the time. They want to do something that they can walk away from and not think of on the weekends, like I'm able to. Or they just don't want to have anything to do with that because they saw what the other repercussions are of it. And so all these cottage industries, which are just getting by on fumes, I am sure, because nobody's making a ton of money on it. They don't want to pursue it. So they got to find a buyer for this stuff, And hopefully they do that before the owner passes away, which has happened in a few cases, Wargaming companies also notorious for losing money. Justin from Benevici said that of the smaller historical companies, he could only verify that Essex made a profit. Yeah. All right. That's got potential. I don't know why I'm overthinking this. I know exactly what I'm going to use. We're going to use Stickum. I just got to find enough of it. Stickum should work fine. I guess one thing I never considered. When you think about what you're going to do for a living, you need to consider the working conditions as well. What are you asked to do? Do you like to do that? What other people are like that you have to deal with? What are the working conditions? You have to wear a uniform. You have to wear PPE. I don't have to wear a lot of PPE, but my next job, I will have to wear less. Because it's just PPE for the sake of, lawsuits is just like not my kind of thing. I'm not interested in that. So, I could never work at a hospital. After COVID, I'm not working. I could never work at a hospital. Be all like masked up and shit just because I couldn't do it. I don't have the mental, I don't have the mindset for that. Heresy Miniatures are having a flash 50% sale this weekend as he needs to pay his rent on Monday. Did he come out and say that? I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that he couldn't plan for his rent on Monday. I don't know where the hell my Stickum is. I'll have to buy Stickum too. All right, well, they sell that at the same place. I'm going to go to Joann's Fabrics, have them old blue-haired ladies hit on me. Actually, they'll probably think, what's this gay guy doing in here? Because Joann Fabrics is no straight males go in there. Because why would they do that? So we need to get Stickum. And we need to get T-pens. Actually, I need to check on one thing before I continue on because I think we have a showing at 11. So if we do, I need to probably. I'll be right back.